Rick still fucking exists. I feel like someone at DC has to have this image of the Titans pinned to their wall, just taking them out one by one. Every one of the Titans are just getting systematically taken down by DC. Wally West, Donna Troy, Roy Harper, it's just actually kind of funny at this point. But today, we get to focus on one very special case. Today, we look at the rise of Ric Grayson. In 255 issues of Nightwing, 79 years of existence, and 6,954 comics featuring Dick Grayson, Ric Grayson is easily the stupidest thing that's ever happened. So sit back, crack open a cold one, because today we're talking about Ric Grayson. For those of you who don't know, Dick Grayson was shot in the head in Batman 55 by KG Beast. You know, because Batman hired him so Dick would shut the fuck up. Oh, never mind. Bane actually hired KG Beast. But Batman, really didn't even show up to check on Dick, so who's the real villain? You know, companies sometimes take things that started as jokes and incorporate them into the plot of their stuff. Riot has that whole Earth thing. Wizards of the Coast has Flivolip. The Flash makes fun of the lack of security at Star Labs. That is the only discernible reason why Ric Grayson exists. I am fully convinced that Rick is just a joke made up by some editor to see how far he could take it. People thought this Rick shit was going to be over months ago, but it's 6 months now, and Ric Grayson's still kicking it. It's either that or some guy just made a joke at a meeting, and someone actually took him seriously. Alright, now that Nightwing has amnesia, what do we want to do with him? Well, we could call him Ric Grayson. That's fucking genius. It's like someone read one comic about Jason Todd, thought he and Dick were the same Robin, and just decided to write a comic. Every over-the-top bad guy trope is present in this story. Smashing brewskis at a local bar? Check. Driving around the city in a taxi? Check. Everyone making jokes about his hilariously long tab? Check. Half a dozen quotes about forging my own way? Check. Breaking into people's houses to sleep? Check. Okay. This one is easily my favorite because Alfred offers him money, so there is no discernible reason why Rick should have to break into people's houses to sleep at night, but he just does. The amount of mild criminal behavior committed by Rick that just gets brushed off as socially acceptable is hilarious. Like, he mentions how he just breaks into people's houses to this bartender, and she acts like this just isn't a criminal offense. Every issue of this series is exactly the same. Can I even call this a series? It's not really like a run or anything. Like, this isn't one writer's vision. Scott Lobdell was in charge at first, and then Dan Jurgens took over, and you can't really notice a thing. This story has had to have been planned out way in advance by DC editorial, because you cannot notice any amount of voice or style in this series. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, every issue spends 3 pages summarizing the plot, because DC knows the only people reading this book are people who figured the rich shit would be over by now and decided to pick the book back up. My name is Ric Grayson. I've been told that before I took a bullet to the brain, I was Nightwing. My name is Ric Grayson, the Boy Wonder, formerly Nightwing. Bounty years in between, sidekick Batman. The Beast, I have no memory of him. I have no memory of the question. Who the hell is this guy? But the thing about Ric Grayson that sucks is there is no story in the series that you can't tell just as well with Dick Grayson. The point of a good amnesia story, and there are no good amnesia stories by the way, is to break down the character and do a deep character study and show who the character is at their core. Or you have them act completely differently to see the character do something they normally wouldn't. At best, an amnesia story just makes us excited for the return of the character while not lasting too long. But the Rick arc doesn't even manage to do that right. Oh, and look at his face by the way, what the fuck? Rick is not a completely different character than Nightwing. He's just slightly edgier, and that's what's annoying. The book never fully commits to giving Ric Grayson a defined personality. Now, I'm glad that they don't. The last thing I want is for Rick to not resemble Nightwing at all. However, if Rick is nearly identical to Dick, there's no need for the switch. For example, the first thing Rick does once he realizes he wants to forget his old life is he just burns down his secret lair with all of his old costumes and gear. Again, how is this not a safety hazard for anyone living in the area? The book plays it off like it's this, yeah man, stick it to all that legacy and character development, let's go buy a PBR type of moment, but multiple people could have died. So anyway, one of the cops who investigates the lair after it burnt down has the great idea to take the remaining Nightwing costumes, recruit a couple of his friends, and form a new squad of Nightwings to protect the city. Now I have to emphasize how many different story options this opens up. Maybe the new Nightwings are too aggressive and need to be brought down. Maybe one of them ends up dying, which pushes the rest of the Nightwings over the edge and they go too far. Maybe they develop a new plan to help Bloodhaven in a way that one Nightwing just can't. But nope, these guys do almost nothing in this story, which is almost refreshing considering all these stories usually end up with these guys being corrupt. But at the same time, these characters aren't used to explore any interesting concepts. But the real kicker is that Rick just decides to join the team. Now, he isn't one of the Nightwings per se. I mean, heaven forbid Dick Grayson goes 2 years at DC while keeping his identity as Nightwing, but Rick does show up at every single mission the Nightwings are also on. It's not like Rick is settling down and trying to find a different path or exploring something interesting or new. He's still doing the exact same stuff Dick would do. It's just that he's got this whole Born to be Wild shtick. Like, the whole Nightwings thing is a fine idea. They're not phenomenal by any means, but they're not a bad concept at all. So if we weren't following Ric Grayson, the book wouldn't be half bad. You know, I am done calling him Ric Grayson. It just feels so wrong. From this point on, I'm just going to start calling him stuff other than Rick. So, where am I anymore? There's so little substance to talk about in this story. Oh yeah, here's a good one. So the Scarecrow pops up in this series, and he's so unintentionally funny. He ends up as not Nightwing's psychiatrist, which is just amusing. Ridiculous literally explains his entire past as Robin to Scarecrow, and he still can't figure it out. He's like that one scene in The Flash when Savitar literally tells him, "I'm you from the future, Barry." And he's like, "Who are you? Show me your face!" Scarecrow, aren't you like a doctor? Like, aren't you like smart? I don't know. Again, these scenes could delve into the psyche of Nightwing or do anything interesting. Like, there's so many things they could be doing. The Nightwings could all be this exploring the different aspects of Dick Grayson. These therapy sessions could show, you know, what's going on in Nightwing's head, but they really just don't. And Scarecrow's whole scheme here is fairly ridiculous. His whole motivation is that he's developed a new fear gas that makes people overcome their greatest fears, which has been done so many times before. In fact, I think there are more recent Scarecrow stories where he uses anti-fear gas than actual fear gas, which is particularly uninteresting because it achieves the same thing as regular fear toxin. It just makes everyone belligerent and want to kill everyone around them. So of course the Nightwings team up and take down the Scarecrow. Remember when Nightwing had his own established rogues gallery and didn't just bum Gotham City's villains? Because I sure don't. And speaking of Gotham villains, after the whole Scarecrow fiasco, who comes to Bloodhaven but wait for it? The Joker's daughter. And the joke's on the reader, because this shit fucking sucks. This is like the Avengers Endgame of everything I hate in comics. It's He Who Shall Not Be Nightwing versus the Joker's daughter, written by Scott Lobdell in an Amnesia story. Again, I cannot stress how much I hate the Joker's daughter. Dude, I'm telling you, it is the same fucking guy in editorial bringing all of this shit together. You're telling me Lobdell came to DC with the pitch, "Look guys, I got this idea where we shoot Nightwing in the head, and then we make him fight the Joker's daughter." Like, who greenlights this shit? And they couldn't have picked a dumber plot for the Joker's daughter in this story. So you know how in the Joker movie they portray Joker as this like political figure who fights for the lower class? Well, Todd Phillips clearly stole from the 2019 masterpiece that is Nightwing 58. Seriously, the Joker's daughter is portrayed as this political activist here, and it's so weird. Well, she cares about Bloodhaven for some reason in this story. I think this story might be my hell. Reading Dick Light versus Joker's daughter is just so depressing. I don't want either of them to win, I just want Joker's daughter to shoot him in the head so he becomes Nightwing again. Hell, that's not probably too far off of what's gonna happen, isn't it? What do we have next? Oh yeah, Year of the Villain. Okay, this one would actually be a pretty great concept if it wasn't a Rickle Shot Knight story. Dick's evil great-grandfather, William Cobb, aka the Talon, comes to Bloodhaven to recruit Dick for the Court of Owls. For those of you who don't know, in Scott Snyder's Batman run, we found out that the Court of Owls were the secret organization that ruled Gotham from the shadows. And in order to enforce their rule, they had an army of zombie assassins known as the Talons, with Dick Grayson's great-grandfather being one of their top members. Dick was originally sent to Haley Circus to train to eventually become a Talon like his great-grandfather. However, when his parents died and Bruce took Dick in, the court lost hold of him. But now that Dick is John Travolta, Talon can finally recruit him into the Court of Owls. At least that's what should happen. But this is a Year of the Villain tie-in, so we have to explain how every fucking pickpocket in the multiverse is somehow ultimately contributing to the rise of Perpetua, via the infinite Tsukuyomi. Totality of Doom. This is such a bizarre event. Normally events either go one of two ways. First, they derail the entire line because everyone has to incorporate this event into their stories. This was a big New 52 problem when Batman was drowning in crossovers and the Green Lanterns had more tie-ins than actual character development, and it really prevents writers from telling the stories they want to tell. The other way is to just say that, hey, you can opt out of this, and then no one follows it and it doesn't really matter. But Year of the Villain does neither. Everyone's doing Year of the Villain, but it doesn't impact any of these stories. It's like whatever's happening in these books is just inadvertently leading to the death of the universe. White Martian Lex Luthor basically just shows up and bankrolls all of DC's villains because he believes in God or something. So Lex offers Talon what he's always wanted. Dick Grayson is a member of the Court of Owls. Or the next best thing because he's got Travis Rickle instead. And the thing that Lex offers to Talon is a pair of goggles. That's pretty fucking stupid. So Talon shows up and nearly kills Nightwing Blue, which is dumb for several reasons. First, this guy exists, and somehow this one is called Nightwing Blue. But more relevantly, this character has nearly died 3 times now. It would be so much better if Talon just showed up and killed all of the Nightwings. That would actually make him seem like a badass. But instead he does this whole, if I wanted him dead, I would have killed him crap. Like, everyone does this and it's stupid. So Blue Oyster Cult and the rest of the Nightwings arrive and try and hunt down Talon, which is really easy because Talon just shows up at I can't believe it's not Nightwing's favorite bar. So the two get into a fight until Talon puts the goggles on Rico mode, and the goggles are pretty amusing. They basically mind control KG Can't Remember Who I Am into becoming a Talon, which is stupid. This right here is the perfect opportunity to make Nightwing a Talon. Dick is now an edgy, aggressive, petty criminal version of himself. What a perfect time to recruit Dick into the Court of Owls. But no, Talon doesn't need to convince him or persuade him or challenge his character in any way, shape, or form, because Apex Lex just shows up with the shitty Ray-Bans and that's the end of the day. That's the thing, if Talon could just mind control Dick into becoming a Talon, this does not need to be a Ric Grayson story. Every single story in this run could easily just be a Nightwing story. It's ridiculous. This whole Jason Fraud phase is just completely unnecessary. They never do anything with it. Please, just give us Nightwing back. All Gray Sons of Anarchy does in this story is boring. It's uninteresting, no one cares. It's not even like the stories are bad, it's just that Dick isn't in them, it's just boring. But wait, DC just announced a new solicit for Nightwing. And guess what? After almost a year of Rick stuff, DC is finally getting rid of Rick. Someone must have wised up and decided we need Nightwing back. Let's take a look. Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter @InfinityIncom1, and let me know how you feel about Rick in the comments below, although I have a pretty good idea already.